Hi, how you doing today this Monday? I hope you guys can hear me. As you're hopping on, say hi. Let me know that you can see and hear me and that I'm in the right group. Natural Solutions. It's pretty warm today. I'm getting flushed. It's also trying on some clothes for Mexico. So, how are you guys doing? Late. I was researching some stuff for you guys, and I wanted to print out a few things to talk to you about happy hormones. Um, Let me know where you're tuning in from. What's the weather like where you are? It's been hit and miss here. Yesterday we had snow. We had snow yesterday. Not happy about the snow, but hey, right? What are you gonna do? Can't control Mother Nature, unfortunately, right? So let's talk about happy hormones. So do any of you suffer from some of the things in the heading? Do you suffer from fatigue? Do you feel like you're tired all the time, or you tire quickly? Do you suffer with low mood? Maybe you're reactive to things. Do you suffer from weight gain or excessive weight loss? Either or. Maybe you struggle with. What else? Like, there's so many different things that these happy hormones control. Like, I think I'm going to blow your mind a little bit here, because a lot of times the underlying conditions or the underlying struggle with a lot of our conditions, a lot of the things that we struggle with are our happy hormones. And do you notice some days you feel like you can sort of control what you eat, you can sort of control the cravings, then other days you just absolutely cannot? Do you notice that? I definitely noticed that. And I had no idea why until I got into this industry and started kind of researching happiness hormones, the different things that they do for people. That's when I really started to realize that there is a direct connection to what I eat, how I eat, my energy levels, my mood. There's a direct connection to all of that and these happiness hormones. So, my question to you is, would knowing what these happy hormones control and how you can naturally balance them be helpful to you? What if I told you that you can naturally increase a lot of these happy hormones just with food? Believe that? Food plays a really big role, a really big part of our lives and our gut health, our brain health, our skin health. Food plays a big role in that. And connecting all those pieces is really important. And sometimes it's really hard to do that, because being able to eat, this and 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 this, to be able to eat all of that, stay within a calorie kind of threshold, right? And have the time to make all of that is really, really tough sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about each of those hormones: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, commonly called the four happiness hormones. And I'll tell you why in a minute. I'm going to talk about all four of those hormones. I'm going to talk about the struggles that can be caused by being deficient in all four of those hormones, or each of those hormones rather, and the foods or activity that you can do to increase them naturally from home. Okay? All right, so let's get going. Remember, please, if you're hopping on, say something, because I feel like it says there's people on here, but I'm not seeing any comments. So hopefully you guys can see and hear me. So we'll start with D. We'll start with dopamine, okay? Let me just make sure that I am in the right place and that you guys can see me. All right. Okay, let's get going. Dopamine. So dopamine is one of my favorite, actually. I think that I think I had none. I think I had no dopamine. Like, it was bad. legitimately bad. Dopamine controls so many things, and I was like out of control on all of them. So let's talk about dopamine. So dopamine is often called a happy hormone, okay? Dopamine kind of gives you that feeling of well-being, okay? It's the primary driver in the brain's reward system. So things like getting praised on a job, somebody telling you that you're doing a good job, that will spike dopamine, okay? You'll get a dopamine hit from that. It's anytime, if you tell your kid that you're proud of them, they get a dopamine hit from that. We get dopamine hits from, that feel good feeling from that, okay? It gives you kind of a euphoria feeling, okay? In addition to mood, dopamine also affects movement, memory, and focus. So dopamine affects your cognitive abilities, okay? Hey, ladies, glad you could see me. So dopamine affects your cognitive ability. It affects your movement, your memory, and your focus, as well as your mood, okay? Healthy levels of dopamine drive us to seek and repeat pleasurable activities. But low levels of dopamine have adverse physical and psychological impacts. When the brain has a healthy level of dopamine, we feel good. Our motivation increases. But what do you think happens if we have a low level of dopamine? The opposite, right? Dopamine is most notably involved in helping us feel pleasure as a part of the brain's reward system. Okay? Sex, shopping, smelling cookies baking in the oven, all of these things can trigger a dopamine release, or a dopamine rush, sometimes people call it, right? The feel-good neurotransmitter is also involved in reinforcement. So if you think about it, sometimes we have those days where we just don't want to do anything. We just feel like we're useless or worthless. We can't do anything right. A lot of that can be the responsibility of your dopamine levels. And then what do? We grab comfort food, right? Comfort food are typically foods that spike dopamine. And then we get that yo-yo effect. We eat something that spikes dopamine, we kind of feel better, and then we crash, right? Because now we feel bad because we ate the food, and we feel crappy, and we're tired because we get that crash. Because the dopamine spikes and then plummets. And depending on how much stress you have going on in your life, you could be creating a very low level of dopamine, very, very low. And then depending on how much sugar you've eaten throughout your life, you could have created a very high dopamine ceiling with the sugar. So to get that pleasure, to get that reward feeling from the dopamine, you have to eat a lot. So that's why sometimes, in the beginning, we would eat a little bag of chips and we would feel better. And then we're eating a large bag of chips and we're drinking 3 sodas instead of 1, because we really keep increasing that dopamine ceiling, okay? That's really important. The fastest ways to increase dopamine, okay? And you can take a look in this group. At the top of the page, pinned at the top, I have a whole post on dopamine, because dopamine, in my opinion, is a lot of people's biggest struggle. So you can go and look at there's a whole list of things surrounded on dopamine. So I didn't want to cover dopamine too much because I've already posted quite a bit about dopamine. I'm going to cover the other happy hormones as well, okay? So fastest ways to increase dopamine. So getting enough sleep. Well, we can't always control that, can we? The getting enough sleep part, right? Unless you drink our unwind, then maybe you can get enough sleep. But getting enough sleep, exercising, which I didn't do at all, okay? Listening to music can increase dopamine. Meditating, spending time in the sun, all of these things can increase dopamine levels. Overall, a balanced diet and lifestyle goes a long way in increasing your body's natural production of dopamine and helping your brain function at its best. Dopamine is responsible for allowing you to feel pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. That's that motivation piece that I talked about, where some days you just don't feel like doing anything. It could be a very low dopamine that day, because your dopamine fluctuates, right? You can have high highs, you can have low lows, but a lot of times it's really hard to get that balance, that nice, healthy balance, right? When you feel good because you've achieved something, it's because you have a surge of dopamine in the brain. So that's why it's always good when you wake up in the morning to have positive self-talk and talk to yourself about, the amazing things you're going to get done that day. Think about the things that you accomplished the day before, not the things that you didn't. Think about the things that you did accomplish the day before. That's going to spike your dopamine, and that's going to help you with motivation. It's all connected. So if you talk to yourself about the good things that you've done and you spike your dopamine, you will also spike your motivation and therefore get more done. Okay? A dopamine-rich diet. So there are foods that can help you boost your dopamine production, okay? But remember, you don't want to get into that yo-yo effect of happy hormones, of the spike and plummet. You want to balance them. So that means you would need a healthy daily balance of these things, right? Exercise, sleep, food. So dopamine, dairy foods such as milk, cheese, and yogurt. I have IBS. I'm dairy intolerant. Probably didn't help with my dopamine deficiency. Unprocessed meats such as beef, chicken, and turkey. Omega-3 rich fish such as salmon and mackerel. I don't eat fish at all. Eggs, fruit and vegetables, particularly bananas. Okay. Nuts like almonds and walnuts. I love almonds and walnuts. I put them in my salad. I really love those. And dark chocolate. Dark chocolate helps with several of the happy hormones. But again, you have to be careful with the sugar and the skyrocket of happy hormones and then plummet. Because then you get, again, that mood, decrease mood, fluctuations in not being able to lose weight, all of that kind of stuff is also controlled by dopamine, okay? So now let's talk about the O. The O is oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love hormone, okay? Oxytocin is a hormone that is involved in things like childbirth and breastfeeding, okay? It's also associated with empathy, trust, sexual activity, and relationship building. It's sometimes referred to as the love hormone because levels of oxytocin increase during hugging, any sort of touching, orgasm, right? All of these things cause a spike in oxytocin. Whenever you're with someone who you're attached to or you care about, this thing keeps popping up, our brain releases dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin is produced, and presto, you get that buzz that love songs talk about, right? You get that, euphoric, I'm in love kind of feeling. Some people say you have like those smoke and mirrors kind of glasses on with your partner, right? That is the oxytocin feeling, that love feeling, okay? Oxytocin triggers feelings of love and protection, which naturally occurs when parents and children look into one another's eyes, or when they embrace, when they hug, okay? Other relationship enhancing effects include things like empathy, trust, and bonding. And this is a very important one when it comes to autistic children. I have my daughter Louise, who is now 12, is autistic. And there was a bonding struggle, even from newborn. She didn't want to nurse. She didn't want to look at me in the eyes, okay? Happy hormones play a big role in that, okay? And as far as dopamine is concerned, the drugs that they wanted to put her on, chemically made her produce more dopamine, okay? Oxytocin is released in response to activation of sensory nerves during labor, breastfeeding, sexual activity. In addition, oxytocin is released in response to low intensity stimulation of the skin, response to touch, stroking, warm temperatures. When we release oxytocin within our body when we touch ourselves even. That's why self-touching increases during times of stress and discomfort. Our brain perceives a threat and our body responds with an attempt to bring feelings of comfort, which your body does that by releasing more oxytocin. Does oxytocin help depression? Several studies have demonstrated the neuromodulating function of oxytocin in response to, this is a lot of long words that I don't know, but consequently, it has been proposed as a potential treatment of anxiety and depressive disorders, increasing oxytocin. What happens if you don't get enough oxytocin? So if you don't have enough oxytocin, maybe you don't have enough touch in your life. Maybe you're not eating, the right foods. Maybe you're eating too much of something that is causing that oxytocin spike and plummet, right? So a lack of oxytocin in a nursing mother would prevent the milk ejection reflex and prevent breastfeeding. Low oxytocin levels have been linked to autism and autistic spectrum disorders, example, Asperger's syndrome. A key element of these disorders being poor social functioning. And Louise has a social emotional disability with her autism. Okay. Number of symptoms for oxytocin deficiency include poor communication, an element of irritability or an inability to feel affectionate, more anxiety and fears than normal, which I had incredibly high anxiety. Sexual interactions are more mechanical, just to fulfill a basic need. Difficulty achieving orgasm. Bigger appetite for sugar-rich foods. These hormones, a deficiency in these hormones will actually make you crave those comfort foods, which tend to be very high in sugar and carbs. And then again, you get the spike, feel good feeling, and you plummet and you keep creating a lower and lower starting point of your happy hormones. And the sugar creates a higher and higher ceiling. So that feel good feeling starts to become almost impossible to reach. Okay. Oxytocin, so foods that boost your love hormone. Figs. Figs are also known for increasing libido, like instantly. Avocados. The buttery avocado plays a crucial role in boosting energy and sex drive. Watermelon, spinach, green tea. Just some examples. Okay. Now let's talk about the S, serotonin. Serotonin, mood. Mood is a big part of serotonin. Serotonin in the brain is also thought to regulate anxiety and happiness. Low levels of the chemical have been associated with depression and increased serotonin. This thing keeps popping up. Where was I? Associated with depression. Okay. These hormones or neurotransmitters are involved in promoting a happy mood and positive feelings. You might know them by different names too. For example, serotonin is also called the happiness hormone. Dopamine is a feel-good hormone, and oxytocin is the cuddle hormone. There's different names for these feel-good feelings. There's different names for these feel-good hormones, right? The cuddle hormone, the hug hormone. That's why sometimes we call our coffee a hug in a mug, because it literally is a hug in a mug, right? So there's something here that talks about why females cry, like with PMS, right? The mood fluctuations, the crying before you start your cycle, things like that. And they're saying that the drop in estrogen and progesterone, which occurs after ovulation, actually reduces the production of serotonin in your brain. So it causes that plummet in your mood and gives you the crying and the sadness. And sometimes we don't even know why. Sometimes we don't know why we're sad, right? That's why. Because you just had a plummet of serotonin, okay? You notice how all of these are connected? All of these happiness hormones in your brain, these neurotransmitters, are all connected. And a lot of them kind of piggyback off each other with how they help your body react with mood, with energy, with focus, with motivation, with all of these things, okay? How do I know if I have low serotonin? Changes in sleep. Serotonin helps regulate the body's internal clock, including the ability to feel sleepy, remain asleep, enter REM sleep, and wake up in the morning. My sleep was a nightmare. It would take me a couple hours to fall asleep because I would think about everything all the time, all the things I didn't do, all the things that I should have done 30 years ago, all the things. I would spend like 2 hours thinking about all that stuff. Then I would finally fall asleep and a pin drop would wake me up. Or if I had to get up to go to the bathroom, it would take me like an hour to fall back to sleep again. Low serotonin, okay? People with chronic insomnia, unusual sleep patterns, chronic fatigue, or constantly vivid dreams may have a serotonin deficiency. Let me know if you're connecting with any of this. Let me know if you are seeing any of your struggles in this. What are they? Let me know in the comments. Like, we're here to help you, okay? What foods can you eat to boost serotonin? Salmon. Salmon is a rich source of tryptophan, which is important for producing serotonin. Nuts, seeds, turkey, poultry, eggs, tofu, soy, milk and cheese, pineapple. A lot of these things I don't eat. Milk and cheese, I love cheese. Doesn't love me all the time. Milk, not a big fan of it, okay? Different ways to increase serotonin naturally. So you have exercise, bright light, supplements, which I take, massage, all right? Okay, let's talk about the E, endorphins. This is the last one of the 4 happiness hormones. My battery's dying, one sec. That's the last one of the 4 happiness hormones. So let's talk about endorphins real quick, okay? Serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins are famously happy hormones that promote positive feelings like pleasure, happiness, and even love. Hormones and neurotransmitters are involved in lots of essential processes like heart rate, digestion, but also your mood and feelings. And we notice that talking about the other 3. The bottom line, endorphins are the body's natural pain reliever and also promotes pleasure. They're produced during activities such as exercise, sex, laughter, dancing, and listening to music. So this is why a lot of times when people are using our dose, you notice the letters in our dose, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. That's why a lot of people who use our dose say that they have a reduction in pain or their pain is gone altogether. Like myself, I no longer have all the joint pain, bursitis, carpal tunnel pain, all that I have before. That's why, because we're balancing our endorphins, increasing our endorphins naturally with plants. Endorphins also trigger a positive feeling in the body similar to that of morphine. Crazy, right? For example, that feeling that follows a run or workout is often described as euphoric. That feeling, known as runner's high, can be accompanied by a positive and energizing outlook on life. I have that. I have this so much more positive and energizing outlook towards life in general. I used to always be waiting for the anvil to fall. I used to always be waiting for that next bad thing. And now I'm like, what amazing things are going to happen today? I can't wait for the day, as opposed to not wanting to get out of bed. That was a cause of being deficient in happiness hormones, like endorphins. What happens if you have too little endorphins? Research suggests low endorphin levels may contribute to depression. I had severe depression all my life almost, since a child. And then after I lost my mom to cancer 5 years ago, it was even worse. Okay. Several studies have demonstrated that exercise can help alleviate symptoms of depression. For people with mild depression, vigorous exercise may work as well as antidepressants. However, exercise alone cannot treat moderate or severe depression. Exercise and other physical activity produce endorphins, chemicals in the brain that act as natural painkillers, and also improve the ability to sleep, which in turn reduces stress. It's all connected. It's all connected. If you're in need of that feel-good feeling, here are some foods that encourage your brain's endorphin release. Chocolate. We heard of that before, right? Dark chocolate. Strawberries, animal proteins, oranges, spicy foods, grapes, nuts and seeds, and ginseng. So those are some of the natural ways that you can, from the comfort of your own home, increase some or all of these happiness hormones naturally. Let me tell you what I did. I did not have the consistency, the motivation, the drive, the mood even, to attempt to do that on my own every day with diet, with exercise. If any of you know me, you know I do not like exercise. I legit just started getting in 5,000 steps a day, drinking my shake for lunch. I've been dropping a pound every day or two, okay? Moving. Before, I've lost almost 100 pounds without any of that. I was doing about 400 to 500 steps a day, and that was just going to the bathroom, basically, right? So now I'm getting in 5,000 steps a day. So back then, when I was severely depressed, I had severe anxiety. I was 336 pounds. I hated myself. I hated my life. I felt horrible all the time. I was negative. I was always waiting for the anvil to fall. There was no way I was going to be able to, by myself, change everything about my diet, eat specific foods every single day to try to balance these crazy out of whack hormones that have gotten so out of whack over the years, from zero exercise, depression, anxiety, terrible diet, right? I grew up very poor. I was in poverty. Literally, we didn't eat. I would have a piece of bread with sprinkles of sugar on top, okay? So all of the poor eating habits and stuff, my happiness hormones, like, in my opinion, I didn't have them all tested, but in my opinion, I don't think I had any. That's how bad it was, okay? So instead of trying to do all of that all at once, getting overwhelmed and not doing any of it, because come on, let's face it, who's like me? Who's like me? If it's too much, if it's overwhelming, if it's too much, I don't just do a piece of it. I do none of it. That's just the way I work. So I'm looking at, okay, I got to do this. I got to eat this. I got to eat that. I got to not eat here. I got to not eat that. I got to stay here. I got to do exercise here. I got to exercise. Oh my gosh. Nope. I'm not doing any of it. Instead, I found a beverage that I drink every morning. I can choose coffee. I can choose tea. I can choose lemonade. I choose the coffee because it's got the highest level of the ingredients for the feel-good factors, okay? It's all plant-based, so it essentially is the foods that I need to eat, but in a beverage, okay? And I take one capsule. Well, I actually take two, but one capsule in the morning. I drink a beverage, and it balances all four of those happiness hormones for me naturally. I've dropped nearly 100 pounds. My anxiety is all but gone. I've traveled the world. I just moved to a whole new province. I would never have been able to do that before. Okay. I was so depressed I didn't want to get out of bed each day. Now I look forward to getting up every single morning. This has actually made me a morning person that I never have been. I'm happy. I'm motivated. I love hanging out with my kids. I'm way less reactive. I'm more of a yes mom. I don't have that roller coaster mood every day. It's literally taken away almost, if not all, of my menopause symptoms, hot flashes. My psoriasis is gone. It's definitely helped my skin. I don't wear any face makeup other than eyeliner and mascara, and I'm a gram on a 4. These products, when you use this tool and increase your happy hormones to a level that they're supposed to be at and balance it there, your life changes. It is truly incredible. All of this stuff that I went through with you, all of these things that I went through with you, we want to help you with your struggles. And it's easier than you think. And I know that sometimes we try to overcomplicate things and we think that that can't be real. There's no way I can just drink this and feel better. You can. You just have to be open to it and let us help you. In worst case scenario, you try it and you're no worse off than you are now and you get your money back. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. So tag the person that invited you to this group. Let them help you. They invited you here because they care. That I can promise you. They invited you here because they care. They're having exceptional results with these products and they want you to feel the same. So you have a couple of choices, right? You can spend your days trying to balance out all of this diet, which you should do. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that at all. You should. Should you get more exercise? Yes, you should. But we should do a lot of things. We have busy lives. Okay, I have 4 kids. I work in a business. We have busy lives. So it's hard to do all of that all at once, all the time. If you can do that, do that. Do that. See how it goes. Okay? But please, we want you to feel better. If you want a tool to make life easier, to help with that addiction of trying to reach that dopamine ceiling, of trying to reach that serotonin ceiling to get that feel-good feeling, balance it quick and easily, and then work on your diet and work on your exercise. Because it's a lot easier to work on exercise and work on diet when you have motivation, when you're in a good mood, when you feel happy, and when you're energetic. It's a lot easier to tackle anything when you feel good. So thanks so much for jumping on. I hope I provided some value for you today. I hope that this helped in even a small way. And again, get with the person who invited you here. Tag them in the comments below. If you're not sure, tag me and I'll help you figure out. And no matter what, we'll help you. Okay? Have an amazing Monday and have an incredible rest of your week.